it's probably too cliched, you know. All the must-wins have been every game we played this year. I mean, we've had some pretty good performances against some good sides. Some we've got over the line, some we haven't. But clearly the last 2 weeks has been really disappointing for us. So while the outcome is obviously very important, what's more important than that is the way we play, the way we address some of the things that have been letting us down. And the exciting thing for us as a team is that we know that we're doing a lot of things really well. And even on the weekend, the result was gut-wrenching, but you know, for 105 minutes, you know, we really addressed some things that had let us down in previous weeks. So while the result is important, if we carry out the things that we've been working on, I'm sure that'll take care of itself.
Is that the most frustrating thing for you, Brad, is that you could have been so good 4 weeks ago against Geelong, and then for the couple of weeks after that, where the hell did that go?
Yeah, it hasn't gone anywhere, Tony. I think that the whole thing with us at the moment and even the competition is that it's a really great reminder and a timely reminder that we exist in a really tight competition. And clearly there are going to be sides that are going really well and sides that are going far from their best, but you don't have to drop off too much for too long, you know, to really get exposed. And we had that lesson painfully taught to us in the last 15 minutes of the game last weekend. We were terrific for 105 minutes and you know, a series of errors cost us dearly and cost us 5 or 6 goals and cost us the game with 40 seconds to go. So what that highlights to us is that you know, you've got to be on all the time, and it takes every single player to get the job done. And if a few let you down, then you know, it can significantly hurt you.
But is it the nature of the competition at the moment now that it's near impossible to be on all the time, every week, for a whole season?
Yeah, and you get beaten when you're off. So, I mean, it's pretty simple for us. I mean, we've played some really good footy. We've really improved in a lot of areas, but we continue to get let down in some pretty important areas too. So, but it's no surprise to us. I mean, we're really clear as to where we're at and what we've got to improve on. The players are crystal clear as to what they've got to improve on. But importantly for the players, we've reinforced what they're doing really well. And if we continue to do that and tighten up some other areas, we'll get some really good results, I'm sure.
So how much time have you spent sort of going over that last patch of the game as compared to, as you say, going over some of the things that you've done well?
Clearly we had to address what happened. I mean, we've never been a club that's buried our heads in the sand and you know, put on a brave face and just basically try to pretend it didn't happen. I mean, we've confronted it head on, we've addressed it, we've gone over all the specifics of why it happened, because I think it's really important to be clear to the players as to why the things happened. And the rest of the game were just a pretty standard review in terms of what we did well and what we need to improve on. But now again, the biggest lesson to take out of it is that if you drop off at this level of sport, you get beaten.
I think you said you know, a few players let you down, can I get some? Did you feel that was the case in that patch last weekend?
Oh, I think it's important to clarify. I don't mean a couple of players the whole time. I just mean in particular passages of play, it was a couple of players. Now, those couple of players varied at different circumstances. So, just as a team, we need to get better across the board.
Brad called it gut-wrenching. Is that how you feel as a player, and how do you respond to it as a player?
Yeah, it was probably especially coming off the week before where, you know, it was a really disappointing effort, I think, across the 4 quarters. I think on the weekend, you know, as Brad said, 3.5 quarters, we played so well, we executed everything we needed to. And, you know, to just little things that let us down in the end and to get rolled, you know, was shattering, because we put so much in, you put so much into this game. You know, it was a real sort of hollow feeling at the end of it. So, but I suppose the thing as a player now, just moving forward, we're just trying to keep positive. Brad said we had a really good review, went back and examined it, and you know, we just got to move on now, because you know that was a couple of days ago, and you know, we've got a big game again this week.
Do you feel hungry though? Does it burn inside you just that little bit more?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think initially after the game, you just wrecked, and you know, it takes some time to digest it. But now that we're into training, like you know, we got our main session today, so it's just great to get back out there. You know, everyone's pretty keen to get on and move on and get that winning feeling back again, and that can't come around sooner than this Sunday.
Is your defence a concern, broadly speaking, Brad?
Look, I think that we're not certainly happy with where we sit defensively. There's no doubt about that. But I think the important thing for us is that we know that it's, when people talk defence, quite often that the 6 defenders who play there for the majority of the game get singled out. But it's a bit of a contradiction, really, because we actually think our key defenders have been pretty good on the whole this year. I mean, Jay Schultz was terrific against us on the weekend and really beat us one-on-one. But apart from that, I think our defenders have been very good. But again, it teaches you an important lesson that your defence, that the damn wall will break if the pressure's not good enough all over the field. So, our defence as a whole has been not at the level it needs to be, but it's not just the defenders.
So when you say damn wall, you reckon that sort of patch at the end of the game was something that you could kind of see coming to an extent?
No, that's, well, I mean, Andrew will tell you, the review was really clear. I mean, when you have a result like that, you would think that, without watching the game and analysing, you would think that it was a capitulation, that it was a lack of effort, that you were completely overrun. It wasn't any of those things. It was 5 or 6 mistakes in a row, which directly cost us goals. And I don't only mean mistakes defensively. I mean, we had chances to score too. We didn't take them. So, that adds up to a 2-point loss with 40 seconds to go. So, whenever you're going really, really well, I was conscious after we beat Geelong in round 3 that, it was clear that we've got a lot of work to do, and I meant it. I wasn't just, sugarcoating things, or trying to downplay things. And by the same token, right at the moment, we're doing a lot well, and we're doing a lot right, and we've just got to focus on a couple of things that are letting us down. It's as simple as that, and you can make more of it if you want to, but we'll just focus on what we know is important.
Last week it was Schultz, this week it doesn't get much easier. Jonathan Brown, how do you stop him?
Oh, with a Mack truck usually. Even that may not be enough, but he's got a pretty good, record of against us. I mean, he came in last year with his first game, and I know what a record he's got first game up. But he's only as good as the supply he's getting. I mean, he's a super player, but if the ball's not in their forward half, it's difficult for him to have much of an impact. But as I said, I think our key defenders have been pretty good this year. So the Schultz performance was outstanding from him, but we'll back our key defenders and our defensive system to improve to take care of that. But it's a daunting task, no doubt, especially the first 20 minutes of the game last week, because it wasn't just Brown. Big Roger Merritt was pretty impressive too.
Brad, you won the inside 50s really decisively against Port. Were you happy with the delivery the forwards received?
No, it can improve. Yeah, it can really improve, Nick. I think that to have 60 inside 50s is usually enough to win a game of footy, provided you keep the opposition, relatively or to a low number. Port had 42, and they had, apart from that last 15 minutes, I think they'd had 30 up until that point. So, we didn't take as many of our opportunities as we would have liked, but the fact that we're getting it there 60 times, we're constantly working on our efficiency going forward, and I think you'll find up until the last 2 weeks that's been pretty good for the majority of the season.
Brad, what do you make of criticisms that while you're good around the planned stoppages, when it comes to being creative and thinking on your feet, you could be lacking in that area?
I think it's valid. I mean, I think it's a valid criticism because the numbers don't lie. But what I would say about numbers in round 8, and when you isolate numbers over 3 rounds, they can tell you pretty much whatever you want them to tell you. I can isolate stats from the first half of the year that tell us we're outstanding in that area. So, it's really, stats are important, and I think the criticism is valid, but we look at it in a holistic sense, and I don't think that's a concern for us. Creativity once the ball leaves the stoppage is a strength of a lot of our players, so it's not a concern.
And just as captain, and I suppose looking at the broader leadership group, how hard is it for you to take something like that last 15 minutes? I mean, do you think we would have loved to have stepped up, one of us stepped up and stopped that momentum at Port? No one seemed to be able to break it. Was it really tough to take?
Oh yeah, in those key situations as a leader on field, you want to make sure that you're involved in the play and you're contributing. And if I had a time back, I would love to have got the footy in my hands and just try to hold on to it, or do something different just to try and break up what they were doing. But we still, as Brad said, we still had opportunities to score. We only had to kick one or two quick goals, and we would have been able to stop there their run, but we didn't. So we're sitting here now, and we move on. And as a leader, we're always looking to improve. And I thought Daniel Wells' game on the weekend really responded and played some terrific footy, the same as Jack Zeeble. So we're getting some really good contributions from our leaders.
Another skipper question. Brent Harvey had 38 against Cat. Since then, he's only averaged just over 18. Do you take it upon yourself to speak to him, or is he beyond that?
No, Brent. He's been great. He's really open to the feedback, and obviously he hasn't played the way we want him to play in the last couple of weeks. But we've addressed that, and he's a champion. He's been a champion of this club for a long time, and I don't think you're going to be able to keep him down for too long.
What do you say to him?
He doesn't need too much, to be honest. So he's just got there's a few key things which we need him to work on. We've identified. He's always been someone who's good at getting a tag, and in previous years he's been able to work through that, and now he's finding a bit of trouble. But I still think he can provide things to the team, which the tackling, the chasing, those sort of things, which are really valuable. And so we're hoping for a big improvement from him in the next couple of weeks.
Do you think the same thing, like that you can't keep him down for too long?
No, well, 330 games suggest that that's not the case. One of the probably the reason you're asking the question and we're talking about is that he's been so good at the start of the year, and he's set a really high standard for himself, as he has throughout his whole career. And then, his numbers haven't been what they usually are over the last couple of weeks. So one of the hallmarks of his career has been being able to bounce back really quickly from a poor performance. Now, he hasn't lost that ability. He's still a real focus from the opposition because of the damage he can do with the ball in his hands, but he can contribute in other ways. I mean, if we got some things right at the end of the game against Port Adelaide, we would have been talking more about the chase down tackle he laid on Jacob Surgeon to create a goal for Drew Petrie. So, there are things that Boomer can do that the opposition just can't stop him doing. He's always going to be a target. He's very rarely going to avoid intense scrutiny from the opposition, but there are other things he can bring to the team. He's done that over a long period of time, so he still sets the standard. While Andrew's the captain, Boomer still sets the standard in how to prepare to play AFL footy, so he's really important for us.
Lockie Hansen, Brad, seemed to be building his way up to some good form, only to get rubbed out. How disappointing is that? It's
really disappointing. I mean, Robbie Tarrant and Lockie took 25 marks between them on the weekend, had about 12 shots at goal. And to be honest, we really are looking for that other key forward to support Drew Petrie. So I think other coaches in the AFL have expressed their frustration at the lack of synergy between the AFL and the VFL, and it's been suspended for 2 matches, and his VFL side have a bye this week. And I mean, I think that's something that needs to be looked at and will be looked at, but it's frustrating for Lockie. But on the flip side, I can't say I'm sitting here too disappointed that he's showing some genuine aggression.
You mentioned, Brad, that there's going to be a couple of things that you need to fix. I'm assuming you need to fix those pretty quickly, because the next 2 or 3 weeks I would have thought were pretty critical to your season. Where you sit now, if you weren't to get wins in those 2 or 3 weeks, that could be nearly season defining, couldn't it? Yeah, no, and I understand the question. I think it's really valid in terms of where the season sits, but I don't look at it that way. I mean, I've always said that we need to play a style of footy that's going to be sustainable against the best sides under the heat of finals pressure. And I would hate to think that we eke out a couple of wins, but we haven't addressed what we need to fix. So the results always come when we're doing the things we need to do anyway. So we're really focused on just fixing these couple of things that are really clear to the players. We're not going to go into detail in public as to what they are, but we fix them, we'll get the results. But we're not focused on where the season sits in terms of win-loss. We're focusing on playing a style of footy that's going to beat the best. You mentioned finding a forward to support Drew Petrie. Is Ben Warren not that person?
Oh, look, Benny's got AFL work rate. We thought he really competed, worked really hard on the weekend, but he's got some things in his game he needs to work on. It's difficult for Ben. I mean, he's a 185 centimetre forward. He's not a key forward, so I wouldn't put Ben Warren in that category. He's a different type of player to that.
Just on that comment about Lockie, about the aggression, is that just applying to Lockie, or would you like to see a real boy show a bit more aggression?
No, I think our Bulldogs game aside, I think that part of our game is pretty good.
Just a bit of a light-hearted one. You're coming up against Voss this week, and it seems like a few coaches are coming up against good mates. Do you catch up with him at all?
No, I don't. I heard Buck say he's catching up with Sando. No, I don't. I think it's too difficult. I know. I like to think I'm pretty competitive, and Michael Voss is the most competitive person I've ever come across. So we'd probably end up punching each other's head in if we caught up prior to the game. I don't know how it'd go either.
Hamish McIntosh, how's he going? Is he a chance?
Well, the boys are just warming up out there now. He had an extended warm-up. We're hopeful he'll get up, but there are certainly no guarantees at this stage.
So there's a little bit of that gamesmanship one-upmanship between you and Vossi. You like to beat him, knowing that you've got that one-up on him?
No, I've been asked the question before about coaching against my brother too. I mean, we coach our clubs, and North Melbourne would like to get one up on Brisbane. Coaches do their best. Obviously, they have an impact on the outcome of the game, but I firmly believe that the game is about the players, and we guide them and support them as best we can. But if North Melbourne win, it's because of what the players do. If North Melbourne loses, it's because of the coach.
Many changes likely to say for that selection?
Look, we're far from finalised in terms of picking the team. We're still, Hamish is an obvious one that we're waiting on, so that affects the balance of what we do. But we've still got pretty good availability. We'd love to have Scott McMahon back, but he's not quite right yet. So this is one of the rare weeks so far this year where I can't even comment on selection because we've got 4 or 5 guys who we're not sure about.
Andrew, is it good, bad, or irrelevant that you've sort of dodged a few media and public bullets this week for what's going on around town, Carlton, Melbourne?
I suppose I haven't really even considered it. I said to Brad before, I suppose the results over the last couple of weeks, we've opened ourselves up for criticism, and the best way we can go about it now is to go out there on Sunday. So there's no point, talking about it or worrying about it. We just got to get focused on what we need to improve, and hopefully we can achieve a better result.